Welcome to the Saturday Spiritual Show. If you haven't met me before, if I haven't met you, Silvia Isachsen here, and I'm really excited about today's show, The Nature of Reality, which is going to be broken down into 3 segments, and there's going to be some science in it. So there's man, nature, and God involved, and a little bit of Jesus too. So last time I did my live show, I had a couple of things happen. First of all, hello everyone, because I could see you're all here already. Thank you for being here. Can you hear an echo? Can you hear me okay? I think that my show is playing in the background. Okay, let me know in the chat area if everything's okay or if you hear an echo. All right, so last time I did my show, I had 2 things happen. Okay, good. Thank you, Shelly G, Maria, and we've got Chris B in the house, Steve Baker. So many people already and posting. Okay, so last time I did my show, I received a lot of feedback that, well, I won't say a lot. A couple of people messaged me and said, okay, they were kind of angry. So I just want to tell you that everything I'm going to say today is based on the information and experience that I've culminated over 50 years. Okay, so I feel very fortunate to have spent a lot of my time asking these questions and praying and meditating, and the dreams came to me and everything. So if you do not agree, that's okay, because this channel is here for those of you that are interested in these types of conversations and in that nature, okay? And Shelly G, I just wanted to ask you if you could back it up with some of the scripture that you found in a book that we have in common that we read called The Aquarian Gospel. So this information is not based on the Aquarian Gospel. However, since rereading this, I've told some of you before that I read it when I was around 16, 17, but since rereading it, it really is confirming a lot of it. Whoa, thank you for the super chat. Very nice, very, very appreciated. Thank you. Okay, so here we're going to start right away. I just want to get my composure. Last time I had a fly, and guess what? No fly in sight until when I first got on. That's why I was like a minute late getting on. So he might be here. I don't know. I think he just wants to hang around. Maybe he likes the conversation. Maybe she does. Okay, so I want to kind of roll out the information and dispense it kind of into segments. And the reason being is because there's a lot to the nature of reality. So the first thing that we want to think about is the science part, because that's all something that we can all agree on. So and I wrote these notes down so I wouldn't forget. So in 1897, radioactivity was discovered. And you might think, well, what does that have to do with anything to do with spirituality? Well, what it did is it led to finding out about the nature of the atom, which Albert Einstein concluded is its existence in 1905. Usually I just like to talk on, but I think it's important to have these facts for the science base. And then later on, they were shocked to discover that 99% of the atom was empty. So this was crazy because atoms make up you, me, the tree, the earth, and everything in the universe. Everything. And there are 92, I'm just giving you a breakdown. There are 92 types of atoms which are related and equated to the 92 elements that exist. So what happens is that there's this atom, different types, and they will configure themselves to create you, me, a tree, the universe. So we all have that in common. But then the scientists were wondering the same thing that we wonder. Well, how are these atoms, if they're empty, how are they creating solid things or what appear to be solid? I'm going somewhere with this, so I hope that you're patient with me. So how do they appear to be solid? Well, the thing is that there are different energies. First of all, the atom has protons and neutrons within the nucleus. So within the atom is the nucleus, electrons, and inside the nucleus, protons, okay? So again, I'm not a physicist, but they went on to discover that there are forces of attraction and repelling forces. And it's the strong forces of attraction that allow atoms to combine into people, into trees, into planets, into stars, into everything. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Craig. So, no, well, yes, correct. Okay, good. I just want to make sure I don't get distracted by the chat because I need to go in a linear motion here. So now what happened is that scientists discovered through the famous slit experiment, that sometimes atoms are visible and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're particles and sometimes they're waves. Which brings me to last Saturday's discussion that really ruffled some feathers about our energy projecting out the universe. So what I was trying to do was to help empower people to understand that your thoughts, your vibrations, and your intentions are connected to what you're seeing. And that's supposed to make you feel really good, because now what you can do is create a reality outside of yourself that is satisfactory to you versus feeling like you're being dragged through this life. And I also mentioned that heaven, you can actually make heaven on earth through this manifestation. And some people said that, well, hi there, yes, exactly, quantum physics. That's what we're talking about here. So some people said, well, Sylvia, don't be ridiculous. If you could, and I thought that was an interesting way of putting it, but the thing is that they said, well, if heaven was on earth, my wife or my spouse would be with me. And I didn't take it wrong. I didn't take it wrong at all. I understand that people miss their loved ones. However, when our bodies leave this plane, as many of us know through the NDEs, they transmute and they become a finer particle that we cannot see with our eyes. And they have done their journey on earth and they're moving on to other journeys. That doesn't mean they don't love us. It doesn't mean that we won't see them. We will see them. However, it's our refusal to acknowledge that this experience has a beginning and an end. The earth even has a beginning and an end, regardless of what we do as humans on it and to it, which I hope that we do respect it and everything. But regardless of that, it will have an end to it. So, coming back to manifesting your reality, you do have the potential to manifest, and that potential is right in the atoms that make up your body. So right in the nucleus, and without going too far into this line of thought of science, they understood that when they split the atom. And when you split one atom, it can create an entire explosion, right? So think of all the atoms that are in our body and all the stored potential within us and our connection. Like, let's take it to the next level, to God, through our hearts and to the universe. We are very capable and wonderful and powerful in order to create a better existence here on earth. And that is my goal when creating this channel. I really wanted to talk about that, but I didn't know if I could take it to that level and explain it to that detail, because all manner of challenges, like for example, when I speak about Jesus, whom I think is a master and who I believe it or not, hopefully this doesn't make you fall off your chair, I think Jesus knew that. And looking back at some of, oh, there goes the light. Looking back at, well, I think, just give me 1 second with this light thing, okay? And I think that looking back at the Aquarian Gospel too, very interesting. Looking back at the Aquarian Gospel too, Jesus talks about the ethers and how they fluctuate, and how what you think that you're going to see might not be what actually is. So I strongly recommend that if you're interested to learn more about it, check out the Aquarian Gospel. It's really cool. It's a whole nother take on Jesus' life. And they talk about when he went to India as well, which I'm not sure, but I don't think the traditional Bible talks about that. Anyhow, without getting into religion, I do believe that Jesus was a master and understood the nature of reality and really wanted us to have our best experience and came here to be an example and to show us the way, the truth, and the light. And somehow we took that and turned it into something completely different. And when we talk about purity of heart, I think that's accessible to all of us. Compassion, love, purity of heart. Let me just move my chair here for a second. It looks like somebody was in my office moving my chair. So when he came here to show us the truth, the way, and the light, the objective was to help us live an amazing life. Hey, Cheryl, good to see you here. I just got to give a shout out to Cheryl. I received a package from you, Cheryl, and it was so beautiful what was in it. You got me a notebook where I actually wanted a notebook to write down, and it's just really glorious. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Okay, so now Steve Baker said, where do I learn more about? Oh, Steve, Shelley G will give you a link about that. It just so happens that that book landed in my hands when I was 16. No idea where it came from, to be honest with you. I can't remember where I got it from. Anyways, it was a great thing. Obviously, it was meant to be because it's such an obscure book. Hardly anybody has read the book, but it has some really fascinating insights that go beyond the regular. So, regarding us humans, we are really amazing because we are thoughts and projections ourselves into this material matter through our vibrations. And if we knew that, we wouldn't feel subjugated. We wouldn't feel like hard done by. We wouldn't feel oppressed, and that we could create an earth that was happy, friendly, loving, so on and so forth. And one of the things about the nature of God, since this is called the nature of reality, is God is in a continual state of healing towards us. God's response is always healing, healing. No matter who we are, no matter what has happened, you are on track for healing. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to share that. It just depends on when you want to be healed. And then from the physical aspect as human beings, like, there's people will say, well, Sylvia, if there was a God and if Jesus did exist, why do so many terrible things happen? I don't want to go there too long, 1 minute only. When you really get to the root of those things, it's the nature of stepping away from what is natural, literally natural here on earth, the natural rhythms, how nature works, and also stepping away from our promise of who we decided to be when we came here, and that's our best selves. And it's important to have the respect that, like, if you have one perspective and I have another perspective, like if somebody disagrees with me, I don't get upset. I don't. I was a little bit surprised, and I think we all would be surprised, but I don't get upset. I just understand that everybody's vibrating and moving at their own rate. And that's the key here, is to honor and to respect that. So I'm opening up to questions that you might have. And while the questions are coming in, because there's a little bit of a delay, I want to talk about those atoms again. So those atoms are the same in your body as they are out in the universe. So if you want to learn more about yourself, you can either go the quantum physics route, or you can go the kingdom within route. Because as soon as you understand the nature of yourself, you will understand the nature of the universe and how it works. And when you combine those, then it gives you an even grander perspective of life, your existence, and your purpose. And you might be wondering, well, how did we get to Earth? Why are we stuck in this place on Earth? And that is because our vibration slowed down to the point where we have become these human flesh beings. However, when we leave the body, we are no longer bound by that. So technically speaking, and I hesitate to say this because I don't want people to think, oh, I want to die and want to leave their body. No, love where you're at, because you're exactly where you're supposed to be, whether it's through, God's choice, karma, whatever it is, you are. However, technically speaking, it's a good thing when we release the flesh body and move into the more etheric body and expand into the nature of the universe. These are some lofty thoughts and processes, but I would rather share them with you and connect with people who are at least interested to hear about these concepts, rather than sit at home and just contemplate them by myself. Because my lovely husband, he isn't particularly, I mean, we talk about stuff, but he's interested in other things. So I find it quite enjoyable to share that type of information. Now, why do I care so much? Why do I care so much about the nature of reality, the nature of atoms, humans, God, Jesus? Because I want to live my best life, and I want other people to live their best life. It starts with understanding yourself. And typically we come into this world and we have these set of problems that we have to cope with and deal with. Each of us do. And even though I seem bubbly and happy and cheerful, I really struggled, like many of you are struggling. And I really have compassion. And when I say these words, I'm not just saying them lightly. For me, it's a healing balm, and it gives me hope, optimism, faith, and there goes my earring. We're live, so I can't edit that out. So it gives me faith, hope, optimism that A, we are eternal, B, we can be happy, we can be healed, and this world could potentially be, with all of that magnificent potential of energy within the nucleus of every atom of our single body, even just our body, never mind the whole universe, we have enough potential to create a great earth. I'm going to read some comments now. Okay, Dorothy said, should we feel bad when we can't live up to our expectation? Dorothy, good question. Yes and no. There's a difference between being conscientious of not reaching your potential and forgiving yourself and loving yourself. That's what's called self-care, honoring yourself, honoring where you're at. But if your goal and desire is to be more, and what I mean by that is closer to God, and to be the person you chose to be, not to be more ambitious and everything else, although I have nothing against being ambitious, but I feel like in order to love yourself, you need to give yourself that compassion that you would be expected to give somebody else. So try your best and then pray for the rest, right? And you just do your very best and be diligent. And you know, something I just recently learned is that promises. So I had this, and I know this is really outlandish for a lot of people, but I do have this great communication with God where just before I fall asleep or during my dreams, I'm able to have those responses. And I had a memory from a long time ago where I made a promise to God, and that came to me. I completely forgot about this memory. This was a long time ago. I want to say 40 years ago. Yeah, exactly 40 years ago. And I was reminded of that promise that I made. So what promises are you making to yourself, to God, to your faith, to humanity that you are perhaps glazing over? We won't say that you're breaking your promise, but glazing over. And that's something I've been reminding myself to do, is to fulfill and have the integrity to follow through on the promises that you made with God. For example, when something bad happens, you're like, oh, thank God, if you get me out of this, then, I promise you that, I will be good, kind of thing. God hears what you're saying, and the universal collective consciousness hears what you're saying, and your vibrations vibrate at what you promise and who you are being as a whole, collectively as a whole, and with everyone else. Okay, vows made to God, exactly. Hi Jim, good to see you. I was talking about you talking about your wife. I'd like to address that. Don't let me forget, okay? Because last time at the end you said, if you could make heaven on earth, then why weren't your loved ones here? And just so you know, we all have loved ones and we all experience death, because death is a part of a natural thing. That doesn't make it any easier. However, the people who leave us are going to a finer ether, finer experience, and we should be happy that they are able to experience that, and one day we will too. And I know it's very painful. It was painful when I lost my mom. It was painful when I lost my dad. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Someone said, thank you for the super chat, Lily Jane. Very, very thoughtful. Okay, and I'm going to read some of these comments. I missed them. Rob Connor said, hi Sylvia, I'm listening here in Northern Ireland. I'm always surprised to see people from Pakistan, from Northern Ireland, from different places, because it really shows you how unified we are. And that's something I really like about YouTube and being online, is that it's a global platform where I can, have a community and friends that think along the same lines, because this is different type of thinking. This is nothing they teach you at school, and it's usually not talked about in families. And if you are thinking along these lines, you can end up feeling a bit lonely. By the way, if you're here and you're just watching and waiting, if you give a thumbs up to the video, what it does is it helps circulate it while it's live. So if you want to, if you're enjoying it, please go ahead. Okay. Dorothy mentioned I always have a lot of guilt. Well, okay, Dorothy, with love in my heart, I just want to talk about guilt a little bit. Sometimes guilt can be a formation, a crystallization that we put around ourselves that puts a lot of emphasis on us and me and this and that. And it just becomes heavy, because it's almost like your vibration will slow down to that rate. If you feel something, you know how long it takes to change? 1 second. Change your mind, change your decision, change your life. And it is very closely, if you really want to know, it's really close to faith and believing. You either believe in God or you don't. And if you do, you have to fully relinquish that fear that you know where you're going. You know where you're going when you die. You know that your loved ones are going to that great place and everything else. What stops us and creates that pull is when we are in doubt of that. When we take actions that are away from nature. Thank you, Shelley G. Kingdom Mysteries Revealed. Thank you, Kingdom Revealed. Dorothy, I hope you understand that. And I say that with love. And guess what? I can't move forward unless you move forward. So when I say that, I'm not saying don't be self-absorbed, but I have been told that once by what I now know from one of you guys in describing an archangel. Said very clearly, stop being selfish, Sylvia. You're not just here for yourself. This was years ago. You're not just here for yourself. You're here for others. And we're here to unite and to show the potential of what we can transmute and change into this world. So if you're feeling caught up in your own, go out and this is what I do anyways. I help someone else, and then it automatically kicks me out of that inertia of feeling stuck or a little sad or depressed, whatever that might be. And it helps me to see that there is potential, there is hope, there is connection, there is love, there is brotherhood, sisterhood. We do have that, and God does exist. Okay, I'm going to read some more. Maria says, the Bible says what we cannot see is ethereal and more real than what we can see with our finite eyes. Right. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Love it. Yes. And I have a sneaking suspicion, and if my dreams, which I do believe in 100%, are real, there are so many mansions in our Father's home, in this universe. There are so many, despite the fact that there's mind-blowing amounts of galaxies, which have mind-blowing amounts of planets in them and opportunities to exist. Then, today it's a really great time to be alive, because we understand that. And there's a pull now. So we're moving forward with our advancement of understanding and science, which kind of discombobulates us to understand that, hey, maybe it's not just about earth, heaven, and hell. Maybe there's a lot of dimensions out there and a lot of places and opportunities for us to grow and to exist and to enjoy and to have experiences with. And that's really what I want to shed some light on, is that there's so much potential, not only just in us and not only collectively, not only on Earth, but all over the universe for us to live. So we have a glimpse, we were given a glimpse and a slice through literature such as the Bible or the Aquarian Gospel of what is. And now we're kind of stepping into it and growing into it and understanding. I love that you use the words ether, because there is an ether. And something else that I wanted to talk about is, a lot of people will say, well, why do bad things happen? I touched on it for a moment, but I didn't finish. I got distracted, as usual. So there are energies out there that are not necessarily, well, they're nothing we want to deal with. I'll tell you that. And in part, through the dream, and it's in a video, which I'll post up later, talks about how we contribute to those energies through our negative activities, through things that I don't want to go too far in, but when you're doing stuff right and wrong, it. So we contribute to that cloud, and then we wonder, why do bad things happen? Why do bad things happen? Well, the fact is that we're pushing all this energy up into that ether that's around us. Because remember, everything is vibrating. I didn't make it up. Quantum physics, science backs it up. Everything is vibrating. And when you put energy up there that is not so good, it collects together and it roams around and it looks for unsuspecting people who are a little bit experiencing weakness, and they might not be at their full potential. So we have the responsibility to act and be our best, not just for ourselves, not just for our own salvation, so to speak, but for humanity and for all of mankind, which is the same thing as humanity. And so it's in our best interest to live by nature's laws so that we're healthy, care for one another so we have kinship. I've said it before, 7.7 billion people together collectively. We could do a lot of good stuff, and we can have each other's backs. And it's just a choice. This is not Pollyanna. This is a reality that you can create, but it starts with us. Nobody's going to come around with a magic wand. Like, people are waiting for someone to come to save the whole world. And literally, we have God within us and the potential, both scientifically and spiritually, to create transformation. At the very least, you can pray for goodness and to shift the vibration into a positive light. Okay, going to read some comments. Thank you for the super chats, you guys. That's really nice. I appreciate it. Gabriel K. always wondered if wars were something that was meant to be or something humans brought on. Of course. So, Gabriella, that's a good question to have in your mind. Like, what happened there? So this actually ties in with what I'm talking about. As soon as mankind, yes, Shelley G, you got to the point. Okay, I was going to tell a story about it, but you got to the point. But I'll still tell the story. As soon as mankind learned how to split the atom, what did they do? They didn't even know that there were protons and everything else within the nucleus. They didn't even know that stuff yet. Quarks and all the happenings that are within the atom. They run the universe, the same elements, the same atoms that are running in your body. What's the first thing we did? Oh, let's just create this thing, blow up things. And yeah, that's because it's almost like, if I may say so, very immature to do that. Because one, you're not, I mean, that's an understatement, but you're hurting the earth, which is where you live. You're hurting people, which are what you're supposed to collect with and combine with to create God, but it's through ignorance. And then remember that cloud I told you about that exists out there? So they see these people who are ignorant, which is, in my opinion, and also what I read most recently, it's the worst kind of death is ignorance, because you don't realize. I'm not talking about dead dying. I'm talking about walking death of ignorance and not realizing just how loved you are and what your potential is. That's not living your full expansion. You're not fully awake. So the first thing they did was to create that, and then later on they regretted it, and there's some evolution that's happened since then, but there's always that threat of it. Yeah, I hope that and that brings up another point. If we knew the entire nature of reality now, more than how to split an atom, what would we do? What would we do? So Steve, wars based on greed. Yeah. So greed has a root. If greed were a tree, it has a root, and it's called ignorance. You're only greedy when you think you don't have enough, and you only think you don't have enough when you're not connected with God. And when you realize you're connected with God, like the dream of the cave, when you understand God. See, we look at greed and selfishness as isolated things, as sins, but what they really are the fruits of ignorance. And ignorance means only one thing, and that's separation from God. And separation from God means only one thing, and that's to go away from the nature of reality. And that is to be loving, good, so on and so forth. And we had someone that came here to teach us that. And whether Jesus comes back or not, whatever happens in that degree, he already came here. We already know this stuff. And we're still struggling to love ourselves, struggling to love our brothers and sisters, struggling to love a different country. We're doing this kind of thing because of that ignorance. But ignorance isn't always an evil bad thing. It could be just that we haven't, as a humanity in flesh, allowed ourselves to do what we're doing right now, open discussion about the nature of reality, because this is the nature. And when you discover the nature of reality and the connection with God, and there's no getting away from it, we're all going back. Just is a matter of when. And when we come to that realization, then we can behave, and we'll cut off the have, just be our full inheritance. And we will understand there's no need for greed. What is there need for greed? Really, let's think about this just for a second. And thank you, Holly, and thank you, Shelly G. Thank you, Renata, and I'm going to answer your question. Think about it for 1 second, okay? What if we all understood the nature of reality, that there's no escaping going back to God, that this earth was perfect for perfect, right amount of nitrogen, right amount of oxygen, right amount of atoms, right amount of water, right amount of everything. And that the only thing that gummed up the machine, so to speak, is us. It's not like anything else made it happen. So this, when we recognize this and realize, oh, all these people on earth are here for me. They're here for me. They're not going to take anything from me, because everything that you need is available here for you. It's just a misunderstanding, miscalibration of what reality is. And so that's what I'm hoping to do. That's what I think Jesus was trying to do. And I'm certainly not comparing. I'm only getting a slice and a glimpse from the dream I had of Jesus, as well as my other dreams for the past 40 years. Okay, and I saw that comment about looking 30, blah, blah, blah. I don't think so. And I don't even care about that stuff anymore. But thank you. Thank you. Okay, Dorothy said, I have found that they want the experience in situation. It's bad or good. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to answer that in a moment. But since I answered one of yours, I want to go to Renata. Why do good people have to suffer from other people's cruelness? Okay, so let's examine that. It's not my favorite topic, but I think it's worth it. Worth it because I think everybody asks those questions. So it's a relative question as well. So can you give me a context of it? Because we suffer in so many different ways. We suffer because when we have this knowledge and we see people hurting themselves, we suffer. We suffer directly from people who are inflicting certain ways of being. But remember, you are not powerless. And this is the whole thing I'm telling you, is that if we all stand there and go, this is a terrible place, everybody's hurting us, the whole world's going down in a handbasket, everybody's dying, it's not going to work out. I'll tell you right now. First of all, not going to happen, and we'll keep coming back until we realize this. This is why it's also important, and where reincarnation can come in. So we have to really understand that we need to wake up to the reality that we can be happy. We don't have to suffer. We don't have to inflict on others. And I think that there's always going to be some degree, due to the nature of duality, inhuman, like being flesh. I think just by nature being flesh. And one of the things I want to talk to you about is I hate to talk about this, but the nature of living, if you look at other animals, they have to kill other animals to sustain themselves. We make other animals suffer, but we never think about that. Hot topic, don't be upset. But we say, all these people are doing bad things, but I don't know what the number is, and I don't even want to think about it. But we're talking in the millions and billions of animals are suffering at our hands that we do. But we always want to say, that person made me suffer, those people are making me suffer, this, but we never think about what we're inflicting on this earth, for example, in the things that we do every time we make a decision, including me. I try not to think about it. We want to get it out of our mind what we're doing. It's the nature of this. And so that's why when we pass away, it's kind of a relief that we don't have to live in this dog eat dog kind of environment. But while we are here, dog eat dog, where'd that come from? I'm not sure. In this nature, I should say, of a reality. And do you not think that it's up to us to be the first to make the change? Didn't Gandhi say that? Gandhi said, write it down what he said, let it be me, or be the change. Be the change that you are looking for. But if we keep saying, that person did it, and that person did it, and we don't become the change, then we're part of the whole basket of problems. So the first thing first is to understand who you are and the nature of reality, and then to extend that understanding to those around you and to the reflection of what you are seeing, because in part you are witnessing the reflection of A, you, and B, the collective consciousness. Okay, let's see what Gabriella said. I think souls come here already knowing what they're going to face and experience, that we choose to face tough situations. Okay. Can I challenge that a little bit, Holly and Gabriella? Can I challenge that for you? Yes and no, okay? And I want to challenge it for dialogue. And please feel free to answer back. Yes, we know, but I don't think we fully know. And let me explain. We're here because our vibration took us here. So however you act, and B, is where your vibration will take you. So I don't know that we have a thing where we're signing and say, yep, I want this experience and this and that. I think it's more like, uh-oh, I vibrated at that level. I realized that I need a circumstance that's going to be a dire circumstance to help me understand and snap out of it to get to that place. I think that that conversation might be happening, as well as you might just be gently guided into a situation. You know those people who have NDEs and they say, I don't want to go back, I don't want to go back. Good chances they have a broader perspective of the bigger picture of why they ended up being here in the first place. And that includes me too. So I'm not saying you guys, I'm saying us, brothers, sisters, friends. And so grateful that you're here right now and we're having this conversation. So I think that you have a way out of this cycle by being your best self and understanding the nature of reality. And we were told, we were shown love. This is basically it and the nature of it. And by learning the nature of our reality, we won't be so ignorant to the facts of what's real. And I want to elaborate on the word ignorant. So prior to understanding that an atom existed, which was in 1900, which was not that long ago, we didn't know about that. So we went about our day believing certain things that weren't true. And when people said and did things, they were accused of things that when we look at them today, were perfectly normal. But if you looked at them back then, they were not. And they, people were persecuted for those types of things. So it's important to understand that we are moving along. It feels like at a snail's pace. And I feel like we should expedite it because we need to understand that love conversation that Jesus had with us, super important, and we need to step on it and make sure that we apply that. Now, I've noticed that a lot of people who come back to Earth and lately are very concerned about the Earth and cleaning the plastics in the oceans and saving the dolphins and caring for people and that. And I feel like there is a Just reading your comment, Jim, just a moment. I feel like there's a movement towards it. So let's go to this, Jim. I'm going to answer your question once, and that's it. So I don't think that it's asked for. I don't know why the sexually abused person, slave, child, I don't think they asked for it. I don't think, okay. So I don't think anybody asked for it, and I don't think anybody deserves it. But if you look at mankind, it takes two to tango. We're all working at this sort of vibrational adjustments and fixing of it. And you have no idea where that person came from, nor do I. That's why I don't judge anything. I don't know what God's plan is. I just make sure that I am not involved in it. I don't give energy to it either. Because when you give energy to those things, you're making them grow. When you fixate on things that are evil, then what you're doing is you're giving it the power. I don't do that, and I refuse to do it. And I don't know why people want to do that. And I'm not turning a blind eye. If I see something in front of me, I take action. But if you're a person that, like the other day, and this is not exactly what you're talking about, but if I see something on the street, I don't just drive by. I get out of my car and I deal with it. Now, there are certain people that just, or I walk and stop. There are certain people that will just walk by and say, oh God, the horror of it all. The fact is that one person can make a big change. And Jim, if you are very upset about that, make it your mission to make a change. Make it your mission to go out there and make it your life mission to change it. That's my suggestion to you or anybody who does have that. And they will understand it more, and you can take action. One person can't change that whole aspect, but you can change one person's life, two people's lives. You can take action towards it. Just talking about it doesn't help it. It actually makes it grow. Doing something makes a difference. Talking about it can bring awareness, that's for certain. But in this case, you're saying, why does it exist? And you're challenging what I'm saying to, in a nice way, to say, well, what you're saying is not true. We don't bring this on ourselves. So let's look at your perspective for a moment, just to go there, just to have a little bit of fun with this and a debate. Let's take your take that we're here alone. There is no God. There is no love. There are evil people. We need to hide. Everyone's bad, and this life is terrible. That really isn't going to be empowering. It's not going to go by Jesus' word. It doesn't help anything. If you want to be that thought process, I love you and will love you to the ends of the earth. However, that line of thinking, A, is not on my channel. B, isn't going to help. That's why I don't do that. And there are plenty of channels. Every channel on TV will tell you about what's going on with that, and every other channel. But I'm not doing that because we need something different. And I'm standing up for it. And I understand that this isn't a popular topic. Otherwise, it would be on every channel. But it's not. But it's on my channel. So that's all I have to say about that. Okay, next. He's like, no, I didn't say that. Holly, I believe we come knowing we are likely to have challenges and have free will to respond to life in our own way. I'm just trying to respond with love and get the ego out of the way, which can be so hard. Absolutely. Yes, Holly. And if I'm coming across heated today, I'm just jazzed up right now. Yes, I just feel like the reason I responded in kind is because when I had the conversation about my mother, when my mother passed away, and God came to me and said, you will not be the judge of this woman. She is my child, just as you are my child. And I understand. And I thought I knew my mom because I grew up with her the whole life. So I had preconceived notions of what I thought was right or wrong. But in fact, they were my own. I had to deal with my own stuff. And sometimes it's a cop-out for us to look at someone else and blame them for everything that they've done wrong so that we don't have to get up out of our duffs and take action and live the best life we can. It's so much easier to sit back and do that. And as far as the circumstances are concerned, and I'll use myself as an example of coming into it, I didn't ask for all of the things that occurred as well. And they were some real doozers in there that I don't necessarily want to talk about that happened to me. And I never did anything to ask for it. But somewhere down the line of eternity, it was something I needed to learn. Whether I subscribed to that experience or not. Perhaps I did consciously. I can't remember, just like we all can't remember what we signed up for this. However, what we can do, if we can't remember what we signed up for, we can focus on the power that we have right now to transmute our experience and our energy. And I want to make sure that I'm conveying that instead of worrying about what happened before, that what's happening right now, and who am I right now, and what am I doing to contribute to the goodness of the earth, to humanity, to my brothers and sisters, because all of that stuff is gone. And today is right here, right now. And, when you walk through your day, when I walk through my day, ask yourself, how are my vibrations affecting the people around me, the environment around me, the earth around me? How am I influencing people in the supermarket? Everyday things. It doesn't have to be in a church or anywhere special. You don't have to be of any socioeconomic standing to be powerful, to influence your environment in a positive way. And at any point of time, if you don't like your vibration, you go right within and switch that vibration. But I refuse to continue the narrative that we are victims and that, we have these things might happen to me and they might be horrible. And one day I will even perish in some fashion or another. But the reality is that right here, right now, in this moment, I have the empowerment through God and through the knowledge that Jesus shared and the knowledge of reality that humanity is sharing to do the best. I want to read some things. Okay. Jim, when my mom died, I thought it was God being mean, future punishment for my actions, and no, it's neither. What I can teach others, my takeaways at this stage of life. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what if it was the best thing ever, which I'm imagining that it is, that we are released from this situation. Now, again, the sound is very low. Okay, let me just check on this for a moment. Also, just so you know, and I've got it maxed out both on the settings and on that. So let me know, Shelly G, if it's still too low, okay? What did Karen say? Sylvia, you are spot on today. I needed to hear this. Thank you. All right, Louise. Our actions and words have a ripple effect, both positive and negative. Louise, yes, and on and on. I can hear her. My sound is fine. Yeah, so I think it might be something on your end today because I got the second new microphone. I double check my settings, and I'm doing good. No school like old school said, be ashamed to die until you have scorned some victory. Okay, so yeah, I feel like we can do so much. We're coming to a close. Wow, that went by quickly. I must have been really on a passionate thing. And whenever I'm speaking, like, look, I should say, Holly and all of you, Karen and Maria, it's all with love. I'm grateful that you're here right now. There's a lot of gratitude. It's kind of like I'm the only one with a microphone right now. I wish I could invite you guys on to speak, and that we are figuring this out together as we walk forward. And I'm just sharing what was shared through experience and with me about it. I just want to make sure that that we get our mindset on a positive mindset, that does it really matter how we got here? We're here right now. And we have to deal with what brought us here, choice, or that we needed to as a basis of our behavior. And the race is against ourselves. Jim, okay, good. Shelly G, and let us run with perseverance and race marked out for us. Hebrews 12:1. We are in a race. To do good. Okay, good. I'm just going to go back. Somebody said something about Jesus and I bypassed it. I wanted to read it. Sometimes it goes by too quickly. I apologize. If you want to write something down again that I missed, I would. Oh, Maria said, Jesus said, what is it to you when people were complaining about others? Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is that we have so much responsibility to do in our lives that it would be best if because we will be accountable. The person that we're going to be accountable to is pretty amazing, and I want to make sure that I'm doing my best. And knowing that the nature of duality and being alive is difficult by nature. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that, God knows that about us. And that's why he weighs our heart. When I say that, I mean, that's why he listens to and connects with our heart. It's not the thoughts in our head, not the things that we, accomplished, but what's in our heart. And that is where I think that purity is defined, is what's in your heart. And there are certain things that we can't get rid of, and those are the things that we need to ask God to help us to lighten our load. With God, anything is possible. Thank you, Holly. That is so nice of you. I really appreciate it. And thank you for being so open with the conversation about that, because whenever I read something, it always makes me think of something to say. It's almost like it was put there in front of me so that I could acknowledge something. So thank you. And I'm currently a college student, and I can't read your name, but I see the kitty thing there, so I'll acknowledge your icon. I'm currently a college student and have been watching your talks since summer. Really love your interviews. Thank you so much. My interviews are different, right? Because I let those people talk and I try not to say too much. And by the way, sometimes people will say something. This brings up a good thing. Heaven and hell. Let's talk about this for a moment. So I believe that we, you, me, have the potential, no matter which part of the ether, which part level of carnation we're at, incarnation, discarnation, we have the potential to generate circumstances, just like what Holly said, right? Maybe we came here because we knew we were getting into it, but maybe our vibration will take us to the dimension of which we have created. And maybe that's all weighed in your heart. And maybe we don't remember anything when we come here or leave, because that's not what matters. It's what is within the heart. That is. However, our vibration will materialize those realities. So that could be a real great thing for some people, and they'll say, yay, that's fantastic because I feel good, I'm happy, my heart is light, I feel joy. And other people would be frightened by that prospect if they have negative thinking and they've constantly imbued themselves and embedded and transmuted their energy into a lower vibration of worrying about all of the heaviness. And we can't escape the heaviness until we become light, and literally light. Light in heart, light in our existence. I heard this one near-death experience, which was really cool. I've never been able to find it again. And it was about this guy who went unconscious. And when he left his body, he could see light coming out of his hands. And he could see that his body, his physical body, was emanating light. And because we can't see that with our own eyes, we forget that the power of God and life, that's actually what's making us be animated and move, is that life force, which is the God force. And so we gotta hang on to that and grow with it and cultivate it like a garden, and just go for it. Okay, so thank you. I'm going to read a few comments here. All right, well, we're coming up to a close. We've got 5 more. Charlotte Rose said, hi, Sylvia. What do you feel? 5 more minutes, gang. What do you feel will happen if we are accountable to God but haven't lived a good life? So I think that you just probably got here, but let's address that. First of all, God's one, maybe two, and only thing, which is the same thing. This one thing is the same as 2 things. Response to us is healing. And within healing is love. God wants to infuse us with health, healing, wholeness. That is our nature. We are the ones that keep rolling back. So let me rephrase that question. You said, what do you think will happen if we're accountable to God but we haven't lived a good life? I will turn the question around, not specifically to you, but I'll turn that question around and say, Why are you choosing to not be with God? Because that's the question he's going to ask you. So what is bad about health, abundance, goodness, trust, love, purity of heart? What's wrong with that? And why don't we love it? I think let's turn that question around, because God's not, I'm sorry, that's not very nice, but I could just imagine God in my mind's eye. All God wants for us is goodness. Might as well just add another O to God, and that's what God wants for us. And if judgment needs to happen, God knows what it, to be honest with you, you're doing it also. The vibration that you carry is your karma. So really, by default, the nature of reality is you'll have to either come back and do it again, or suffer in a certain way or not. So really, the power is in your hands. And to separate yourself and say that God's over there, and when I get there, I'm in trouble, I'm going to let you know God's right here all the time, listening, and weighs you by your heart, what's in your heart. So if you are in your heart earnest, and even if you mess up here or there, whichever, that's your conversation with God. And I trust that the energy of God can make it right. The light of God, the love of God can make it right. Okay, I heard some pops. God answered a prayer. Me being here with like-minded friends, yes, right? We gotta collectively get our group up to par. Now, I've got some good news for you guys. So just before I head out, I thought about this morning, and I went back and forth, and I thought, so I have a membership on my channel, and I understand that people who watch my channel, they want to see NDEs, and they want to hear things that are going to inspire them and bring them faith, and they might not want to dive deep into this atom / vibration / abundance / this conversation. So I've decided to turn my membership, my third tier, the Inner Circle membership, and I'm going to make specific videos that are going to dive deep into how you can transmute your vibration for the highest order of your purpose. And I'm going to share with you everything, the things I haven't even said on YouTube about my dream, and what I have even since discovered when Jesus held his hand. And well, I always have to feel compelled to share this, so this and this. And you will see the tiers of my membership. There's tier 1 is $1.99. FYI, I need to tell you something. If you see somebody with a comment with a little ball around, they're a member. B, as a member, each level you can use NDE icons. You can use icons that, like, check it out. So when you go to put a comment, you can put those comments beside STE, NDE, OBE. So if you've had one, let me know by using those comments if you're a member. And on the third tier, I'm going to make specific videos. So when you come to my channel, you will see them when you are a member, and they're going to go deep in. I'll always have my Saturday show. I'll always have my NDEs. I've got a really good one coming on with a woman named Barbara Ireland. Super cool. Like her energy. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Sergio, please. Is that the icon? Did the icon come up there? Holly says, thank you, Sylvia, for all sharing. Have a blessed week. Thank you, too. Cheryl, I love you all, too. Such a good conversation. Gabriella, absolutely. Karen, this community is so loving. All right, that's it. We ended at the perfect time, and God's time is perfect time. And since you're a part of it, you're perfect, too. Love you all. Thank you so much for showing up today. Appreciate it. All 75 of us that were here today, which is fantastic. If you ever want to put a comment in the comments area, I will respond to it. If you're watching this on the replay, the conversation goes on all day. Thank you, Shay. So long, everyone. Well, Holly K, you might be a member already. So just check it out in the membership. So, I should have given more information. 30 seconds left. Under each video is an option to join, okay? And I can't do it manually, otherwise I'd put you guys in. So if you're on an iPhone, it won't show up. If you're on an Android, it will. However, it shows up for everybody, and I have an iPhone too, so I'm kind of upset about that, but goodbye. But if you're on your desktop, you'll see the join button under every single one of my videos. So it's the Inner Circle tier. When you join up, there's going to be videos that are going to dive deep in it. and I'm going to answer your specific questions, and it will be a much more personal conversation. All right, have a great day. Thank you. So long, everyone. God be with you. God is with you.